And welcome to Live at 5, everybody. We have some beautiful members of the community with us today. Hello, Mia.
Hi.
And hello, Marina.
Hi.
Really great to have you guys here. This conversation came about over a really casual discussion with Rachel during the week. And we often reflect on how we came together, and her body of work in psychology and my body of work in yoga came together. And the crossover we found includes areas of compassion, areas of self-inquiry, and also the primary framework of our now existing community, nonviolent communication. So Mia and Marina are part of the monthly practice group in nonviolent communication. We meet here at the Graceful Bowls Club on a Sunday morning for just a couple of hours together. And yeah, I'm really interested to hear what you guys have to say, because those of you who are listening, no doubt you would share the sense or the need for community and the need for belonging. I know that's been very central in my healing. And so really a delight to have you both with us today. Those of you who are listening, please feel free to add your comments or questions. If anything resonates, just drop us a line and we'll check in on those as we go along. So if I may, I thought I might just start with you, Mia, and then go on to you, Marina. And the first question is really how you came to join the nonviolent communication community.
Yeah, so for me, it was pure accident, complete and pure accident that I came across NVC. So I just happened to be scrolling on Facebook one night when one of these lives came up, and it intrigued me, the conversation that was being had. If from memory, I think it was about schema. So there was a conversation being had about schema, and I thought, oh, this is really interesting, and it resonated with me at that point last year. And yeah, so ever since I've kind of followed along and then found myself in NVC and started attending the practice groups in January. So yeah, that's kind of how I came across it.
May I ask, Mia, how long you were following online before you showed up in person?
I think it was around August last year, so 4 or 5 months roughly. And then I went to the very first one in January this year, and yeah, haven't looked back.
Awesome, thank you. And Marina, how did you come to join the NVC community?
I had been introduced to NVC some years ago and had listened to Marshall Rosenberg's 9 Hours online. I then in 2020 joined a book group, and we worked through his book on nonviolent communication. And then last year I was writing my honours thesis in psychology and feeling pretty stressed out. And I had been seeing Alexis for a bit of debriefing and massage, and she mentioned it to me. And I thought it was a great opportunity because I hadn't had a chance to, after the book group finished at the end of 2020, to continue practicing NVC. And I thought it would be a useful thing both personally and professionally. But also I was really intrigued by the concept of the yoga and psychology community, because being someone who has studied psychology formally over the years, I'm also a yoga therapist. So I had come to the conclusions over the last few years, similar to what Alexis and Rachel did, is where the points of crossover are, and how yoga can complement psychology and how psychology can complement yoga. and how they inform each other in different ways. So it was a lovely pairing of personal and professional interests for me.
Mhm. Thank you, Marina. That's really great to hear your stories. I had completely forgotten, Mia, that we knew you online before we met you in person. And Marina, I can agree that the community meets both personal and professional needs for me. And, you know, the trust, I think, that is built in that space lends itself to collaboration, as we're starting to see now. Yeah, essentially a year later with the upcoming retreat. And there's certainly, we're seeking and inviting, a bit like this today, more involvement. So that is something that as a business owner has been deeply satisfying and completely unexpected. So yeah, thank you for that reminder, Marina. And it seems that it's also helped us to identify that we, the community is thriving in the interdisciplinary space, and that makes sense considering the origins. So yeah, I'm sure that there'll be more opportunity, and I'm sure we're going to see how operating in that space has so much potential. I think it's to do with the diversity, really, and then the mix of potential that can grow with diverse perspectives. So what about why you keep coming? If you've been coming since January, Mia, I don't think you've missed a session, and you've showed up to the workshops, and you've been showing up to these Sunday meetings. I mean, really a driving influence. Why do you keep showing up?
To put it simply, because it's a safe space. It's become such a safe space for me. It's a space where I get to practice holding space, which for my own professional development is really, really important as well. It's where I get to practice listening, not just to somebody else, but also to myself. And it's really self-care for me as well, because it's once a month where I put time aside for 2 hours in a month where I really take time to check in with myself. So if I have that, where it's once a month, I have this routine, regular thing that I do, then at least I'm taking that time at least once a month to be able to check in with myself. And it creates that space where I can do that. And it's also about the people. I love coming because of the people. You know, we have people who regularly show up, and then we have new people that come in at different points as well. So it's really about the diversity and those connections that have formed. And I've been really, really lucky to form such beautiful connections with some of the members of our group. So yeah, for me, it's a lot of things encompassed in one, I guess. And it's that exposure to do the hard things as well.
Mm-hmm. Do you want to talk a little bit more about that, Mia, doing the hard things?
So doing the hard things for me is stepping out of my comfort zone, and, you know, meeting new people is really, really difficult for me. So it's that exposure to doing something that typically I would shy away from and I would hide and go, oh, no, sort of thing. So doing that, and I've noticed that I'm becoming a lot more open and a lot better at doing that, and I'm not as nervous. I still have the nerve feels sometimes, but for the most part, yeah, I can really see this radiance that's coming through with me to when I expose myself to the hard things. And it's, you know what, you can do hard things and you'll be fine.
Thank you, Mia. Thank you. Your mention of the word radiance reminds me of the ways in which you have been so encouraging of the community to be open. And I agree, there's something about that bravery just taking the plunge, and particularly having come out of COVID where we were all very withdrawn, and we all needed to step out, even those of us, you know, who maintained a level of personal connection. It was still a big step for us to step out of the COVID bubble. So thank you for that reminder. I think that's been quite significant to see the group starting to open up more freely and starting to feel more safe. And it reminds me of our conversations around the peacock and being a peacock and being loud and radiant and vibrant.
And bright and colourful.
Right. Yes.
Yeah.
And in fact, you know, that is the meaning of yoga. And I'll keep slipping this in every time, well, every opportunity I can, because, you know, the sole goal of yoga is to stand in our radiance, is to stand in our basic nature. And I almost can't hear that enough. So thank you for that reminder. And also a reminder that, you know, it is very safe. It's so safe. And I think that's set up by the framework of NBC, that we share a common language, which is specific to self-expression, speaking our needs, but knowing that we're not doing harm, we're not imposing, we're not blaming, we're not criticizing. So I think that as a central theme allows us to express ourselves really freely. Thanks, Mia. How about you, Marina? Why do you keep coming? Why do you keep showing up?
Commitment
Nice.
to myself, commitment to a process. Yeah, I think it is for me very much, it certainly has quite personal aspects in there, but I think where I'm been at in the last year is, as I've been finishing my honours degree, the questions came up, well, what's next? I had a plan and things didn't go to plan. And so certain things were, that I just had to accept there were certain changes, and that perhaps I had changed. And I think coming to the practice group gave me opportunities to, in little ways, like Mia said, you develop and hone some skills that I would use professionally as well as personally, and just confirm to myself, oh yeah, I can do this, and explore what this, how yoga and psychology can talk to each other, merge together, complement, and how I might like to use my knowledge and skills. And so it's been an evolving thing for the last 12 months for me, and it's continuing. But as you said, Alexis, it's provided opportunities, I think probably for some of us to get to know one another and look at, what we can offer, and then has given opportunities to collaborate with things, which I'm really excited about. Because that's a space I really enjoy inhabiting, a collaborative space. So yeah, it really has been part of my exploration, I think.
Yeah, powerful. Commitment is a powerful word. Again, yeah, I agree with you. I think there is a level of commitment in the group. And when I looked briefly at the neurochemistry of belonging, just in preparation for this talk, and a lot of the research points to oxytocin as the neurochemical reaction responsible for our sense of belonging. And that really gets stronger through a secure attachment, which does take time and consistency and all of those predictable kind of time-related qualities, reliability. So yeah, commitment is a perfect word to describe why we keep showing up. And then, of course, the attachments that come from that, and the experiences that the feeling of, feeling really good about ourselves when we belong. All that reflexive experience as well. So thank you, Marina. Now, what about needs? For our listeners who are not familiar with NVC, needs is a central, probably the central theme, I would say. It's the major contribution of Marshall Rosenberg to the therapeutic space, and more we're hearing about needs-based therapy. So watch this space. What needs does the community meet for you, Mia?
There's a lot.
Great.
So I did use my feelings and needs list, so I will put that out there.
Awesome.
For those of you who are part of the community, that info is on our community page, so feel free to grab it. But for me, it really fulfills connection, community, a sense of purpose, growth, challenge, intimacy and affection, predictability, compassion, friendship, belonging. There's a lot that it really fills for me. So this is the first time where I've actually had a sense of community, and where I've actually been a part of a community. So for me, typically growing up, I wasn't really in one place long enough to be able to develop those roots and have that sense of community. So yeah, this community is very special to me. It's become home.
Beautiful. Thank you, Mia. That's come up a fair bit in consultation privately this week. Even with clients who don't necessarily experience secure attachments in their birth family. I've been coming back to the 5 characteristics of secure attachment: consistency, availability, responsiveness, reliability, and predictability, and saying to them, you can demonstrate this even with your barista, even with your pet, even with a neighbour, even with a friend, a teacher. You can build secure attachments irrespective of your birth, family, connection, and your upbringing. So I'm so pleased you're getting those needs met, Mia. Really profound. And what about you, Marina? What needs does the community meet for you?
I think certainly connection is a need that has definitely been met, and was probably a big one. It's always a big one. Also, the need for competence was something that I think I was seeking initially through the group, and as I said, through my exploration of how yoga and psychology can talk to each other and how that relates to me and my professional practice.
You
Opportunities
dropped
to...
out a little bit there. Would you mind just letting us know? You just dropped out.
Oh, sorry.
I'd love to hear about competence.
Yeah, sure.
Skills your
So the group has given me opportunities to show myself that I have competence in the areas of psychology, and
we're going to fill in yoga,
and that together they do form an area of psychology and yoga.
Just keep going, darling. I'm sorry to interrupt. Yeah.
You're right. And that psychology and yoga together for me form foundations of competence. And I'll fix up my internet connection. I don't know why it is unstable when it says it is not.
You need a more competent internet connection.
I will try this one. No, I'll try this one.
I think we've captured the gist.
You did get the gist. There was one other, but it flew out of my head. So let's go with connection and competence for now.
May I ask, Marina, how competence, the competence that you've built within the community, how that spills into your daily life?
How it's been spilling into my daily life is actually in how I've been going through a process of change within myself in terms of what my own perceptions of myself as a professional, because I had a whole path mapped out for me. And as I said, it didn't quite happen the way I thought. And so I've been able to come to the community with the professional offerings that I have and, see, how this works, how it feels for me, how it works, how other people interact with the things that I have to offer and learn how other people do it too. And so in doing that, it's helping me to sort of formulate, oh, well, for now, this is looking like this is a viable alternative path to the one that I'd kind of set in stone for a very, very long time. And it's just helping me to sort of unpack my own biases, unpack my, tell myself critic to take a rest, take a very long rest and stop trying to convince me that I need to do the initial pathway that I thought. And, the NVC itself helps with that too. Sometimes I'll tap into the NVC principles because I'm practicing them more and more to actually go through, okay, right, oh, this is happening, right, okay, I've tapped into my feelings as well. Now, what are the needs? And I've done some pretty good needs work this year. As you said, Alexis, one of the core features of NVC is having a look at our needs and to actually go through processes. And it can take time to go through processes where you go, oh, it's these needs. And then, maybe a month or so later, it comes up again and you're like, okay, I think I'm needing this. And then you're like, but what is that? And then you're starting to kind of drill down in the needs more and more as you do that inquiry. And then you can start to make some really meaningful requests of yourself.
Well said. And that's I think what's responsible for the change. I want to say drastic change, because I think NVC does facilitate a drastic change. I mean, I can see it in the two of you, and I'm experiencing it for myself. So I agree, there is a shift in the self-perception, and I think NVC helps us to orient ourselves in ourselves rather than an outside in or reactive type existence, to anchor in myself and what's important to me. So that reinvention of self that sounds like is happening for you, Marina, I can resonate with. And then the integration of that in our daily lives, which we know takes time. And I think that is the difference. That's why I love referring my clients to the group, because I say there's only so much we can really do in a 1 hour session once a week. You really need exposure to it from a number of different voices, a number of different angles, and let it drop, let it land, drop it into your body, start grabbing it in your daily life. I use it daily, and it really is a lifeline, because even yesterday there was a heightened emotion in one of my relationships, and I was able to just anchor to, well, what am I noticing? And that was enough to step away from what once would have overwhelmed me and distorted the reality. So it is, as Rachel calls it, a lifeline. And I think of that, like a lifeline. I think she says there's been moments she felt like it just dropped from the ceiling and she just hung on to it. And I love that, because I think that's really what it does do. So Yay, I'm stoked. It's so valuable for you two both. And then my final question is whether there are any standout moments for you, any turning points, or sometimes they can be small little things, sometimes, significant. But Mia, have you got any standout moments within the community?
Yeah, there's been a few for me. I mean, every time I attend, there's something new. Even though it's the same framework, it's the predictability, which is super important to me. But there's that element that is different. And so I've been able to take NVC away and implement it in my daily life. I will be doing an in-service at my own work with my colleagues in the holidays to teach them NVC. So that's probably a really special moment that is going to be a standout. But one of the moments that really, really stand out for me is it was during a dyad. And during this particular dyad, one of the other members of the group who I was paired up with, I was moving through my messiness, and they just instinctively reached out and placed their hand on my heart, because I just reached this moment where I was talking and I was becoming quite enveloped with my emotions. And it was that real moment of, I've got you. I can see that you're going through something, but I'm here and I'm listening. But ultimately, I've got you. And if you fall, it's fine. I'm here to catch you. But keep going, sort of thing. So that was probably one of those really special moments that stood out for me this year.
Thank you, Mia. And you, Marina?
I think there's probably lots of small moments that I can't remember now. But I think one big moment for me was when Alexis, you invited me to do the body and NVC workshop, and I co-facilitated with Rachel. And that really, it just really got me to think about how the body works with something that I had come to from a very intellectual space. So being someone who's sat in the mind a lot, I actually did yoga. I learned how to be a yoga teacher so I could learn to be in my body more. Wasn't doing it as a profession to start with. And so what the practice group enabled me to do was think about these connections more and more and more and more. And by the beginning of the year, I was starting to map NVC to my restorative retreats and say, oh, well, this part of it, this is looking at observation and feelings, and these bits here, we can attend to our needs. And look here, we can look at our requests. And then in doing this, this one practice group where we just exclusively focus on NVC through the body, and what it stood out for me most was how it resonated with the group. I just really wasn't sure how people were going to take it, and it just seemed to be really powerful. So I'm super excited to explore this more and delve into this a bit more with the group in future sessions, because there's certainly something there.
Agreed, Marina. Agreed. In fact, I pulled out my Louise Hay affirmations, and she even spoke even decades ago about how needs live in our body. I mean, in fact, all of our experience lives in our body. Odd that it's such a new concept, considering we've been in the body all this time. But yes, that's something that I'm so looking forward to as well. And on retreat, I think will be the perfect opportunity where we've cleared distractions, mind has settled, much more in tune with the body as a part of nature. And the nature that surrounds us, you know, it's impossible not to feel that continuity of the body and the ocean, the body and the island, and acknowledging our needs as they live in the body. So yes, let's keep that conversation going. And I'd just love to thank you both. A standout moment for me was just at our last NVC session where the three of us just hung out. I don't remember feeling like I could just stay put and not have to go anywhere, and still not have to go anywhere, and still that was such a refreshing moment that I don't remember feeling for a long time. And again, I think it was the combination of safety, self-expression and connection, really, like you say, Mia, really feeling held. So hopefully this resonates with our listeners, because we know that these qualities, these needs do meet a lot of the underlying needs that are responsible for feelings of isolation and feelings of stress. And really they can be quite simply met. That's been a learning for me and for what I've seen around me. So we've got time just for a quick check-in on our listeners. And I'm sorry, I did say I'd check in as we go, but that was really enjoyable to just get into the flow. And there's actually been no comments, so that's so fine. I'm sure that there'll be listeners through the week, and I'll be putting it out amongst our geographical community. And if I hear any comments for either of you specifically, I'll tag you. But most importantly, I want to thank you both, because I think this is important to get out there and to welcome people in. So thank you so much for sharing your experience today, and I'm sure it won't be the last.
Thank you for having us.
Thank you so
Awesome,
much. Yeah.
Thank you, Marina. For listeners, we'll be at the Graceful Bowls Club the last Sunday of every month. That's set in stone, so just come along. It's by a donation of $5. NVC, nonviolent communication, is our primary framework, as you've heard today. And of course, the retreat is coming up. That's where we get to really embody and experience this psychology and yoga, the combination and the merging of the two. So I'll put the link for the retreat below. And enjoy your Sunday evenings.
You too.
Thanks, guys.
Bye.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Bye.